which is why I think that most Americans understand if one of my Christian neighbors, one of my Mormon neighbors is becoming more religious, it's not a bad thing. It doesn't take anything away from my faith. Let's go to Bobby in Los Angeles. You're on the Medved Show.
Yes, Michael. Before I argue with you, I would first like to establish that I am a God-fearing person. I do believe in religion, and I don't hate on other religions. I'm arguing with you because I've noticed a couple of things you've said and not said. For example, if I were to say to you that most of the wars, the invasions, the conflicts throughout history were either done by either Muslims or Christians, would I be wrong?
No. Yeah. Well, it depends. When you say most of the wars, do you want to say most of the deaths, or do you want to say most of the wars total? Because there were huge amounts of wars in the ancient world where there wasn't Islam and there wasn't Christianity. Right.
But my point is, though, because you were talking earlier about how most wars, you brought up World War I, World War II. My parents, just so you know, came from India. I follow Indian religions. I'm a Hindu. And I can easily brag with the high head that India, Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs don't usually go around the world forcing people to convert and things like that. So whenever someone is talking about anti-religion, I give them that argument.
Yes, but also, hold on for a moment. Would I be correct that in Indian history there was no shortage of conflict?
You know with who? With Muslims. Mostly with Muslims.
Okay, but you see, but you can't say that Hinduism has been uniquely absent from the world's wars. Even Buddhism, which people associate as the world's most peaceful religion, there's all kinds of information now of violent attacks by Buddhists against Muslims in Myanmar. So go ahead.
I didn't say they were perfect people, but I think you can establish that Hindus, Buddhists, Sikhs don't go around the world forcing people to convert, forcing people to say our religion is the best and everyone else is going to.
Yeah, but neither do Christians for the last couple hundred years.
Okay, so you know why there are so many Christians and Muslims? Because when they're not forcing people to convert, they're taxing you or forcing you or pressuring you. You can't acknowledge that?
No, I can't. Stay with me, and we will get back to this idea whether Christianity and is uniquely guilty as religions. We'll be right back with Bobby. 44 minutes after the hour of religious faith. Let me go back to Bobby in Los Angeles, who believes there's a uniquely guilty history for Christianity and for Islam. Is that your basic point, Bobby?
My point is, just to clarify, the religions, I don't say the religions are fake. I don't question Jesus or Muhammad existing. I believe that Jesus was a Prince of Peace. I believe Muhammad existed, and I'm not saying they're false religions. My argument to you is, when you go through history, the two big religions throughout the world that either did the most forcing or pressuring or taxing or basically trying to convert people seem to be, go by the population, Christians and Muslims, or pick up a history book and read it for yourself.
Well, again, I think that's perfectly fair. The biggest and most influential religions of the last 2,000 years have, in fact, been Christianity and Islam.
Why?
But you want to say why? Partially because they were successful in converting people initially, but also particularly in the case of Islam, it was through forced conversion, and it was through war. Now, Christianity is a different and more complicated situation because.
Can I cut you off?
No, you may not, because I will let you come back to me for a moment. But in Christianity, what you had is that in the 4th century, about 400 years after Jesus, 350, you have Christianity becoming the official religion of the Roman Empire. But even after Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire, the idea that there were wars that were waged for the sole purpose of converting people was much more representative of Islam than of Christianity.
Okay, so I obviously don't have a statistic on who brought the sword out and who chopped off more heads and who converted more people. I don't have a stat on that.
But you're correct that the record that there have been more people who have been killed and there have been more wars for conversionary purposes by Christians and Muslims than any other religious group.
But what you also need to consider is when they were not forcing people by the sword, Christians or Muslims, they were either taxing or pressuring them or forcing them systematically to slowly convert or move out. It happened now more with Muslims recently. Muslims are still doing this kind of garbage.
Correct.
Christians are doing it less. I agree with that. But there are other factors to consider. The Middle East is in an area where there are a lot of more minorities, such as Hindus and Buddhists, and they're still doing this. In America, it's different. It's a cultural thing. It's not a religious thing. More people are more laid back here. There's a difference. So will you acknowledge that when they're not forcing people, they're doing other things like pressuring them?
Absolutely not. And now, again, when you talk about the situation in the United States of America, the pressure in the United States of America to conform to any one religion has always been minimal. And the reason for that is because we've had so many different religious faiths from the founding of this country. Now, most of the religious faiths were different Protestant denominations. But your theory that the idea that Christianity is strong in the world today because of forced conversions years ago, I don't think holds up, Bobby.
And Islam?
Islam is a complicated case. Islam has very dire problems in it.
Okay,
it is
so
the only faith. It is the only faith in the world where people actually believe that it is virtuous to blow yourself into little bloody chunks of flesh in order to kill innocent people.
Okay, so can I ask you, do you believe most people today who are either Christian or Muslim, most of them, I don't have a stat, do you think most of them are Muslim or Christian because their ancestors had people who said, hey, would you like to convert to Christianity, Islam? And the people said, sure, I'll leave my old religion and go to yours. Is that what happened?
No, in terms of, first of all, when you talk about ancestors, you are talking about the early stages of human history. There were lots of forced conversions for every faith. And I don't know enough about early Hindu history, but I'd be surprised if that weren't the case. And in different sort of variety in the world today. We'll be right back.
The Michael Medved Show. Michael Medved.